Corporation. Have you ever tasted True Blood?
No, I haven't.
Well, we just happen to have a bottle of it right here. Why don't you tell us how it tastes?
It tastes very much like blood, I believe.
Is it a pleasant taste?
For me, no. But of course, I am not a vampire.
Dr. Igawa's not the only one with a bad taste in his mouth these days. Meet the Reverend Theodore Newland of the Fellowship of the Sun, an anti-vampire church movement. His message has been spreading far and wide thanks in part to podcasts like this one.
I assure you that the light of the Lord will soon shine down upon them all, and then they will see His terrible glory.
When you refer to the light of the Lord catching up to the vampires, what do you mean?
Eventually, all vampires will be forced to greet the sun.
And who will be doing the forcing?
That's up to the Lord. But as far as I know, God has no law against taking the out of the undead.
Sounds to me a bit like the gospel according to Reverend Newland.
All one needs to do is look at the facts. They made their existence known to us with the advent of synthetic blood. Why? So they could convince us that they were not a threat, because they no longer needed to feed off of us. This implies that for the centuries preceding synthetic blood, that they were a threat, that they did feed off of us.
A fair point, to be sure, and one that Nan Flanagan has no small amount of practice avoiding. One of her more slippery performances came recently on HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher.
I mean, come on, doesn't your race have a rather sordid history of exploiting and feeding off innocent people?
Number one, show me documentation. Doesn't exist. And most importantly, point number two, doesn't your race have a history of exploitation? We never owned slaves, Bill, or detonated nuclear weapons.
Well,
we're citizens, we pay taxes, and so we believe we deserve the same constitutionally protected rights as everyone else.
It's this familiar talking point that Miss Flanagan seems particularly fond of. You see, the debate over vampires has evolved once again with the proposal of the Vampire Rights Amendment, or VRA, which has become one of the most polarizing political issues in our history. Needless to say, the American Vampire League has a big stake in its future. They've been lobbying heavily, and recent polls are indicating a surprising amount of national support. Thank you. But perhaps this amount of support shouldn't be surprising at all. Here at the Johnson University cafeteria, we found that for every person who still feels a sense of fear and loathing when it comes to vampires, there just might be one or two who feel quite the opposite.
I actually think that people are kind of jealous.
Meet Alexa, one of a growing number of people who seek out the romantic company of vampires. And this is her boyfriend, David.
Imagine being with someone who's had 200 years to learn how to please a woman, but who still has the body of a 27-year-old.
So vampires...
I am potent. Yes.
Tell me about it. And with vampires, you don't need birth control.
How do you feel about the word that some people use to describe your taste? I believe it's fangbanger?
I think it's vulgar. It implies that I'm some sort of prostitute. I prefer fangophile.
Okay. As a fangophile, you let him suck your blood?
Of course. He likes it.
You do?
I do prefer real blood.
It's a total turn on.
But aren't you concerned about becoming a vampire yourself?
No. You don't become a vampire just by letting one suck your blood.
Well, how do you become one then?
All I know is I'm not a vampire, and we've both had each other's blood plenty of times.
So you have tasted his blood. Why would you do that?
Because it's awesome.
Awesome. What do you mean?
If you tried it, you'd know.
Quite a lot to digest, isn't it? While in Baltar, we thought we'd see what the good folks around here think of all this vampire business. And that means stopping by for a drink at Sam Merlotte's bar. So, any of you ever met a vampire?
Man, them. They're an abomination. The Bible says only Jesus rose from the dead.
Actually, according to the Bible, Lazarus rose from the dead too, thanks to Jesus.
I don't know. To me, they're just so unnatural and dangerous. I hear they can do things to you. I know.
What do you say, Sam? Get many vampires in here?
Can't say as we do. Not a whole lot of vampires in town, as far as I know.
But if one came in, you'd serve him?
Sure. Law says we got to serve everybody.
For now.
Some are saying that the Great Revelation will go down as one of the most significant events in human history. In an instant, we were forced to re-examine every notion we've ever had about life, the natural world, and our own existence. And no matter how you feel about them, it's probably safe to say that vampires are here to stay, and the story is far from over. For In Focus, I'm Tiffany McElroy. We'll see you next time.